Bushido, the Way of the Warrior. When a warrior took up the sword, they took their own life into their hands. The horrifying beauty of the sword is, it is so final. A single blow could end a life. Crimson blood pours freely, steel reaching through the body. One victor standing alone. Gordy. A duel, a contest of wills, ends with an explosive strike at the conclusion of a battle. In an instant flash of steel, as unexpected as a fish jumping from water. The unpredictable mid-match finish and its finality is what makes Bushido Blade such an amazing video game. This is no simple fighter. It harkens to something more primal and more final. No safety zone, no life bars to hide behind, and no room for a misstep or a bad read. Each battle ends in a flash of the blade and a splash of polygonal blood only the PS1 could give you. Join us as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Bushido Blade in this retrospective breakdown of the game that shaped so many of us. Bushido Blade was developed by Lightweight, later of the Kengo series, and published by Square and Sony Computer Entertainment for the Sony PlayStation in 1997. Bushido Blade was a one-on-one, third-person 3D fighter with matches between two opponents armed with bladed weapons that each player chose after selecting a character. The game has overarching similarities with fighters with PvP matches and a story mode, but it was a departure from other fighting games of the past as, among many other bold differences, there was no time limit or health gauge. A well-placed attack to the head, chest, or torso is a fatal blow and a match point. The game simply refers to this instant death damage as single death blow system and is the defining quality of the Bushido Blade series that makes it shine. Striking an opponent's arms or legs could disable that body part thanks to the game's body damage system. A damaged limb would completely alter the framing of a match, especially for players that use two weapon stances. Despite the quick speed at which most matches last, there are times when you and your opponent almost seem to be truly connected and the match turns into a true battle. Striking, dodging, parrying as you run through the bamboo trees, trying to break your opponent's guard, trying to catch that moment when they finally slip up and you can get that kill. As the battle wages on, it builds more tension and excitement, and in these longer matches, a limb can sustain a blow and the player is at a disadvantage with a new moveset that is more punishable, but often more primal, more desperate, and far more dangerous. These matches build so much tension that each player tends to cry out at the end. The outcome? The victor seals the deal, or the underdog sneaks in for an awesome killing blow that no one expects. With no time limit, these longer battles take advantage of a dimension of gameplay that most other fighting games truly lack. The free-roam 3D world breaks down the walls that you would typically find at the edge of a 2D fighter or a standard 3D fighter. In Bushido Blade, the characters can run in any direction, jump, and even climb up the walls and ledges. This calls the player out into a space for epic battles with diverse places, instead of just right in front of them in a 2D space. As matches circumnavigate and penetrate shrines, beaches, and temples, the geography and obstacles within those levels bring spacing into play and give the player a relationship with that level. When playing one of Bushido Blade's 6 game modes, you select one of 6 Kage. Red Shadow, Tatsumi, Mikado, Black Lotus, Utsusemi, and Kanuki comprise the whole of Bushido Blade's initial playable cast. Admittedly, it is a small roster, but combined with the weapons and their properties, it creates a decent array of possibilities. Let's get into how weapons factor into this. So, when playing any of Bushido Blade's game modes, you select not only a character, you also select that character's main weapon. While there are similar options in other games, such as Soul Calibur, the gameplay of the character depends entirely on that selected weapon. In fact, the fairly authentic-looking movesets are tethered to them. Each character wields each weapon differently based on that character's strength. Some synergize with some weapons more than others. Though not explicitly spelled out in the instruction, each character has a weapon they utilize best. When playing a match, the character has 3 stances. By pressing R1 to raise the character's center of gravity and R2 to lower it, you can cycle through low, mid, and high stances. Each stance changes the move sets for the attack buttons. Combining the right weapons, fighter, and stance leads to the apex of advantage for that player. Knowing your character's strengths and understanding how each of the characters handles each weapon gives a solid advantage, though there are always upsets. The obvious upside of moves being connected to the weapon is choosing the style of combat that's right for you and combining it with the character whose stylistic sensibilities most closely match that of your own. That unique and bold game factor disentangles form and function and puts the choice in your hands. Navigation within each level, some of which are combined, is simple and fun. You're naturally targeted to the opponent, but by pressing the L1 button, you engage free movement, which allows you to run in any direction in a way that's more akin to an adventure game. Taking the battle around through a bamboo thicket is, well, pretty hype. As teens, it gave us a rush as we relive some of the coolest scenes in anime and samurai film history. Just don't take the chase too closely. While the music in the game is iconic and generally awesome to the fans of the series, it takes a step back and lightly weaves itself into the soundscape when it comes to the story. In the story mode, the game favors the sound of steel glancing off steel, footfalls in the snow as our assassin makes their bloody escape. This plays perfectly into the intensity over excitement feel the game was looking for as our Kage of choice carves their way to freedom. Graphically, Bushido Blade was right on the mark for games at the time. It definitely wasn't as beautiful as some of the other titles that came out in that general time frame, but for the ambitious design, it met all the visual hallmarks of modern games of that time. It also didn't hurt that the American version of that game had blood, and as you know, we love our violent games. The story mode is themed after feudal Japan, but it takes place in a secluded 500-year dojo where assassins train secretly in modern-day Japan. A struggle for leadership and corruption leads one assassin to brave an escape with the secrets of the dojo. In this mode, Bushido, the way of the warrior, must be followed in order to progress. This means no dishonorable fighting, such as blinding with dirt. The character you select is the assassin making their escape. One by one, your fellow assassins try to block your path. To escape the castle alive, you must defeat and kill your fellow Kage. Your character is determined to escape. He or she breaks into a soliloquy each time they are forced to kill. The story and pre- and post-match dialogue differs depending on which character you choose, and the more characters you play through with, the more you begin to understand the relationships they all have. To a degree, honestly, the story is, as with most fighting games, is lacking in details, but it is more or less equal in content to a good portion of fighters at the time. A brief moment of still silence. Each player stands like a statue before a flurry of strikes, a death blow, and one player cries out while everyone laughs and cheers. Waiting to get home from school to play Bushido Blade was a true test of skill. We couldn't wait to get all the kids in the neighborhood piled in front of our TV to battle it out. Bushido Blade holds a hallowed place in the memories of many a heart and truly made its mark. 20 years later, we fondly remember Bushido Blade and encourage you and your friends to get a beer or soda, pile around the TV, throw down some bold declarations of victory, and duel it out Bushido style.